What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. Michigan State held their MSU Spring Showcase this past weekend on Saturday. So let's just talk about a few things that we like, some things we didn't like, and some things to keep an eye on going into the summer months. First off, it was if any of you did not watch it, it was about 45 minutes of a practice, going through drills and warm-ups and whatnot. And then after that, we moved into some of the 11 on 11 for 10-minute running clock periods. So we'll just start off there, really. First off, the first series of 11 on 11 had a 22-yard pass from Childs to Foster, and then a 52-yard run popped for a two-play touchdown. And we haven't seen one of those since Kenneth Walker was on campus, and that just showed flashes of how dynamic this offense could be. Obviously, with everything we're going to say today, it's spring game, and the common overreaction for every spring game is, oh, if an offense makes a good play, my defense is bad. If the defense makes a good play, oh, my offense isn't that good. But we're going to try to just take each play for as it is, a spring game, a scrimmage against your own team. So we'll look at that, but that was a nice two-play drive there by the team, a pop that we haven't seen in years. Really, K9 masked a lot of what that team was in 2021. But as far as a offense that can pop like that, we really haven't seen that in about a decade, since 2014. So we're hoping that some of that pop can translate over into the fall. But the starting group for both sides, some of them were names that we already figured, but then there was some position battles that are still ongoing and will continue to ongo through the summer months and into fall camp. But offense, obviously, quarterback Aiden Childs, running back Nathan Carter. The wide receivers were Jerron Glover, Montori Foster, Isaiah Johnson. Jack Velling was at tight end. And then the offensive line from left to right was Jake Merritt, Christian Phillips, Tanner Miller, Gino Vandemark, and Ashton Lepo. Some names to watch there. Obviously, Jake Merritt. It's a name that I haven't heard a lot of, or really any of, in his time here on campus. So that was a surprise. I don't know if that was kind of just throw people off from what the actual left tackle battle is. Or obviously, you still have guys like Stanton Ramel was still out today from that injury he suffered last year, I believe in August, at the beginning of fall camp. And then obviously one of the other positions as well, Ashton Lepo, which this is a name that we have heard over the last couple months, had been making strong strides and was going to be pushing for a starting spot possibly this upcoming fall. On defense, we had on the edges Chris Bogle and Avery Dunn. At the defensive tackles, we had Derek Harmon and Daquan Dowse, one of the incoming transfers to this team. At linebackers, you had Cal Halliday and Jordan Hall. Angelo Gross was slotted at nickel to start out, and then Malik Spencer and Dylan Tatum were at safety, with Charles Brantley and Chance Rucker at cornerback. Now, the second play, the run play, the defense did make a switch, so yes, it technically wasn't the ones, but I'd still consider it the first series, who was some of the first subs. So in that play, Darius Snow, which awesome to see him on the field, came in, and he was up off the line on the left side. He came in for Tatum, and Gross slid back to safety on that play. Some other notables, Brandon Tullis was getting some second-team reps at running back. He's a freshman from Texas. Michael Masunis got some tight end 2 reps when they had some of their 2 tight end sets going out there, him and Jack Velling. Now, we're not going to go through every drive, just try to pick out, kind of like we did right there, 2 young names to watch, in Brandon Tullis and Michael Masunis. The second drive was not as explosive. Aiden did miss some throws and plays overall, but I mean, obviously he knows the offense, but still getting used to everyone around him. And obviously it's the spring. Jonathan Smith said multiple times we have a long way to go, but that first drive was something to hang on to for the summer. So some other key names to look out for here. Nick Marsh absolutely showed out. Contested catches, deep balls, catches in traffic, going through the tackles, taking the pile with him. Just really impressive showing. Had a touchdown in the later half of the scrimmage. Jalen Berger, obviously, originally slotted to be the RB2, which probably, if I had to guess, still would be the RB2 if the season started today. He did fumble the ball out of bounds early on, but did have a few nice runs and a touchdown run later on in the game. The secondary is, you can tell, still a young group. Still has some growing up to do. We saw Dylan Tatum kind of get an early hit pass interference on Jack Velling. Montori Foster as well showed out, has some nice catches. Obviously, the first one, the 22-yard ball to get that drive started. And then he had some nice contested balls as well. Had one down the sideline from Childs to later set up a Nate Carter touchdown, which we'll get to here in a second. I thought Chris Bogle, who, when he came in his first game on campus, I was like, that dude's going to go to that league in a couple years. Obviously, he's, battled through some stuff while he was here, but hopefully we can get him to stay healthy throughout the spring. And if so, I think he can, in especially a position like edge that is looking for someone to take charge and a couple people to take charge there. I think he could be someone that really comes forward come the fall. Nate Carter, obviously, we know he was good running. He was actually having holes for him, which we didn't see for him last year. And as well, he was a threat out of the backfield as well. He had a nice over-the-shoulder, kind of back shoulder touchdown grab from Childs later on, second half of the scrimmage. One positive for the defense as well. They did mention this on the broadcast, so that's where we're getting in here, so I just want to shout that out. But don't know if this will translate, this year, but Joe Rossi's defense at Minnesota last year was the least penalized team in the Big Ten. So that's been something that we've been kind of struggling really since Mark D'Antonio left campus. Stupid penalties too. Absolutely, I can't even, I'm at a loss for words at some of the penalties that we've seen over the last couple years, but hopefully, especially on defense with Joe Rossi coming in, it might not take into effect this year, but hopefully we see signs, especially maybe the second half of the year. Being one of the least penalized teams in the Big Ten, I would definitely take that. Not even being the least penalized team would be great, but if we're just in the bottom third, penalized, that would be such an improvement from what we've seen the last couple of years. Then obviously it's portal season as well. We've had a few guys enter the portal: Simeon Barrow, Antonio Gates Jr., Marky Lowry, Sean Brown, Eddie Pleasant, and Braden Miller all entered the portal. Obviously, still could be more. There's still some time left before that portal window closes here in the spring. MSU also does look like they're still trying to, in the summer months, looking to add a wide receiver, possibly a defensive back and defensive line help. And then we've already seen them bring in an edge rusher in Anthony Jones from Indiana from the transfer portal. So obviously there still could be more on the horizon here. We'll keep some tabs on that. Obviously, summer and fall camp will be big in terms of, as Jonathan Smith said, making sure knowing the ins and outs of the schemes, both offensively and defensively, special teams as well. Just learning a completely new scheme, how they're teaching things. And then over the summer, Jonathan Smith mentioned this as well. It'll be big to get that QB to wide receiver connection. So Aiden Childs working with the receivers we have in the room. If we bring in anyone, integrating them into that too. So yeah, I think Aiden Childs, from all accounts, from what we've heard, it sounds like he's done a great job of being the leader of this team, as the quarterback obviously usually is and has to be. But as Jonathan Smith said, he's not doing too much. Obviously, he's still the new guy on the block coming in. So it sounds like he still is leaning on guys, especially on the defense, say Derek Harmon, Jordan Hall, Dylan Tatum, across that. And then, some of the other guys that have just been in the program and know the landscape a little bit better. He's leaned on them too, but he's also, you can tell he has that, personality to kind of rally a team around him. And that was nice to see. And, excited for big things coming this fall from Aiden Childs. So that was nice to see a little glimpse of him today. But obviously, kind of we mentioned to it a little, I think, a key point to come away from this fall, too, is that the O-line and the secondary will take some meshing time. This could be a learning process over the first couple games, going into this first season, learning the scheme. And obviously, there's a lot of young guys across all those positions, across the offensive line and across that secondary, in the cornerback room specifically, and even the safeties as well. But learning that scheme over summer and early in fall camp will be key. If you can get a jump on that, then maybe it won't be as steep of a learning curve. Thankfully, they can kind of ease into the schedule before hitting that October gauntlet. We talked about it before, and we'll probably talk about it over the next couple months ad nauseum. But that first 4 games, you need to at minimum go 3-1, ideally 4-0. That middle 4 games, if you could steal a game, that's great. That's just icing on the cake. Because you got Ohio State, at Oregon, at Michigan, or home against Iowa, and then at Michigan. If you can steal one of those, that's icing on the cake. Then same thing for the last 4 games. It's the first 4. You need to go at minimum 3-1. If you can do that, then obviously if you just win your minimum of everything, don't steal a game in the middle, that's 6-6. You're at a bowl game. If you can steal one, steal an extra one at the beginning or end, or even steal one in the middle, maybe Iowa or that school down the road in Michigan. If you could steal one of those, you're at 7 wins. Steal 2 of those, you're at 8 wins. But I think that's that sweet spot for the team right now. If you could be at 6, 7 wins, I think that's, ideally where you see this team. I think kind of the range going into the spring, I was like, no way they don't win at least 6 games. Right now, I think I'd have that, probably 5 to 8 wins. I still think 6, 7 is the most likely, but 5 wins, if they struggle, maybe, getting into rhythm early on in the season, I could possibly see 5. More than likely 6, 8. But, excited to see the staff get on the recruiting trail and have, a full summer, have, high school players on campus, see if they bring in any transfers. We'll keep an eye peeled on that all summer. But hopefully some big MSU basketball news come in this week sometime, possibly even today, on Tuesday when we're recording this. But thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Go Green.